The snow was falling harder now, thick and steady, the kind that muffles the world into silence. Martin Hayes squinted through the windshield of his old Ford pickup, the wipers working overtime against the December storm. He'd been driving this same route home from the hardware store for 15 years now, ever since his wife Sarah passed and left him raising their daughter Emma alone. He was tired, bone tired, the kind that settles into a man's shoulders when he's carried too much for too long. That's when he saw her, a small figure standing on the shoulder of the county road, maybe 30 yards ahead. At first, Martin thought his eyes were playing tricks on him. Nobody should be out here in this weather. But as his headlights caught her fully, his heart dropped. A little girl, couldn't be more than 7 or 8 years old. She wore a thin blue dress, no coat, her dark hair already dusted white with snow. She wasn't moving, wasn't waving for help, just standing there, as if she'd been waiting for someone who never came. Martin's foot hit the brake harder than he meant to. The truck slid a bit before stopping beside her. He threw it in park and climbed out, not bothering with his coat. "Sweetheart," he called out, his voice gentle but urgent. "What are you doing out here?" The girl looked up at him with eyes that seemed too old for her face. She didn't answer, didn't cry, just looked. "Where's your mama, your daddy?" Martin knelt down in the snow so he wouldn't tower over her. His knees protested, but he ignored them. Still, she said nothing, but she was shivering. Lord, she was shivering something awful. Martin didn't hesitate. He scooped her up, surprised at how light she was, and carried her to the truck. She didn't resist, just let herself be held, her small arms eventually wrapping around his neck. Inside the cab, with the heater running full blast, Martin wrapped her in the flannel blanket he kept behind the seat, the one Sarah had made years ago, back when her hands were still steady. "It's okay now," he murmured, rubbing her arms to bring warmth back. "You're safe." He looked around outside, searching for any sign of a car, a house nearby, anything, but there was nothing, just empty road and falling snow and the distant glow of streetlights. Martin pulled out his cell phone. No signal. Of course, the storm must have knocked something out. "I'm going to take you somewhere warm," he told her. "Get you taken care of." "That okay?" The girl nodded, just barely. As Martin drove toward town, toward the sheriff's office, he kept glancing over at her. She'd stopped shivering as much, but she still hadn't spoken. What kind of people would leave a child out in weather like this? His hands tightened on the steering wheel. "My name's Martin," he said softly. "I have a daughter about your age. Well, she's 13 now." Hard to believe sometimes. He smiled, though sadness crept in around the edges. "Her name's Emma. She's probably home wondering where I am." The girl turned her head to look at him. "You got a name, sweetheart?" "Lily," she whispered. Her voice was so small he almost missed it under the rumble of the engine. "Lily, that's real pretty." Martin's throat felt tight. "You're going to be just fine, Lily, I promise you that." They drove in silence for a while. Martin's mind was already working through what needed to happen. The sheriff would call family services, they'd find her people. Or maybe she didn't have people. His chest ached at the thought. "My mom left me there," Lily said suddenly. Martin's breath caught. He didn't know what to say to that. "What do you say to a child who's been abandoned?" "Sometimes," he began carefully, "grown-ups make mistakes, big ones. And sometimes they're going through things that make them do things they shouldn't. That doesn't mean it's right, and it doesn't mean it's your fault." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then, she said she couldn't do it anymore. Martin had to pull over. His vision had blurred too much to drive safely. He put the truck in park on the shoulder and just sat there, this stranger's grief mixing with his own old sorrows. "I'm sorry," he said, and meant it with everything in him. "I'm so sorry that happened to you." Lily looked down at her hands, small and red from the cold. "Are you going to leave me too?" And there it was, the question that broke him. "No, sweetheart, I'm not going anywhere until I know you're somewhere safe and warm, with people who'll take care of you proper." They sat there in the idling truck, snow piling up on the hood, two people who'd both known loss trying to find comfort in a moment that had none to give. When Martin finally continued toward town, he made a decision. He'd call the sheriff, yes, but he'd also make sure this child landed somewhere good, even if he had to make some calls himself, even if he had to keep checking on her. His Emma had taught him that there's always room for more love in a life, even when you think you've used it all up. At the sheriff's office, Deputy Collins took Lily's information with practiced kindness. Martin stood nearby, not ready to leave yet. Before the social worker arrived, Lily tugged on Martin's sleeve. He crouched down again, those knees of his complaining louder now. She leaned close and whispered in his ear, "Thank you for stopping. My mama said nobody would." Martin felt hot tears spill over before he could stop them. This child, who'd been thrown away like she didn't matter, was thanking him. "You listen to me," he said, his voice thick. "You matter, Lily. You matter so much. Don't you ever forget that." He held her small hand in his weathered one, and something passed between them. An understanding, a moment of grace on a cold winter night. The social worker was kind, Martin made sure of that. He got her card, got Lily's case number, told them he'd check in. As he drove home that night, the snow finally letting up, Martin thought about all the ways life breaks us and all the small ways we're put back together. He thought about his Sarah, and how she'd always said that kindness is never wasted. When he walked through his front door, Emma looked up from her homework. "Dad, you okay? You've been crying." Martin hung up his coat and sat down beside his daughter. "Let me tell you about someone I met tonight," he said, "and then let's talk about maybe having a little more room in this house." Emma listened, and when her father finished, she nodded. "When can we meet her?" Martin smiled through his tears. Sarah would have been proud. Sometimes the people we save end up saving us right back, and sometimes, on a cold winter night, one act of stopping when you could have driven past changes everything. That's how families are made, not just by blood, but by choice, by showing up, by stopping when someone needs you to stop, by remembering that every single soul matters.